Oh, wow. I wish I could figure out a way to make that transition just a little bit better. It is Thursday at exactly 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Exactly.
This is the Geeky Gamer Podcast with hosts Ken and Bill. We're excited. All the celebrations of holidays and whatnot, all lowercase letters. Mr. Interrupts brings us music, as well as Couchfire Media brings us production. And you know what? Trois Productions brings us all the other shit, no matter what they say. Today, we are discussing predictions and disillusions of the new year.
It's going to be a fun time, guys. It's not going to be filled with pessimism or cynicism at all.
No pessimism, pessimism today. I'm less disheveled from last week's kerfuffle and scheduling two guests at the same time. This week, we had a last second no call, tell us no show until maybe just a few seconds ago. So there we are, and we've come up with it.
Yeah, 2 or 3 hours.
2 through 3 hours. Okay. Well,
2 hours. We cobbled together a really cool show in 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Or I should say, you cobbled together a really cool show in 2 or 3 hours.
Well, 2 or 3 minutes.
2 or 3 minutes.
So today we're gonna talk about the future, into the future. It's paradise now. Our constant dedication to things that kill all humans. We got to think about the shit we buy. The bags of guns will hold on so tight we just might.
I feel like this is coming from someplace that I'm not sure. What has happened?
Well, that's some poetry. That's some of my poetry that I've written in the past. But we're this.
That's some canceled poetry right there.
That's some canceled poetry. I mean, so this week we're going to talk about a little cancel culture. We're going to do some past episode recaps. We're going to predict happy soul whatever solstice. To you. Yulestice. I actually looked it up. Apparently, this celebration was a big Roman celebration back in the early, BC, by 200 BC. It was like Sol. It was the sun didn't die, I guess, every year. It went less and less and less, and because it didn't die. I mean, I am not a historian or a scientist or anything like that. That's why we're also going to talk about AI and how we use it to make us seem smarter and better, and we'll talk about ethics and stuff like that relates to using it as a resource to help create our content.
Right. So, what are we going to start with here? I'm interested in this Roman mythology, or not mythology, festivals. I know a little bit about Roman mythology, but when it comes to the festivals, I don't know much. I got all of what I know from the HBO series Rome, which is awesome. It's a really good one if you haven't seen it. In fact, just to go on a tangent, one of the main characters plays the main bad guy in the Ahsoka series, which I also have not seen. But I am told that it's watchable because of his character. So yeah,
I like Ahsoka. I think Ahsoka's cool. But no, Ahsoka. I like the character, but I mean, I know Ahsoka from the Clone Wars,
and awesome.
Just a really, really phenomenal character that stands up to, spoiler alert, Anakin.
Well, I mean, I don't think
as they were transitioning, it was their shadow.
Yeah.
Or
that's
second.
The whole thing is so Anakin has an apprentice or a Padawan. And you know
always
from the
kinda
very
thought
get-go.
that name was
and-
terrible.
What?
Padawan, is that like a real? Is that like a from something?
A Padawan learner? No idea.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably like a midi-chlorian, like, you know.
Also,
I
a
didn't
terrible
like
name.
Nah, it's pretty terrible.
So last week we were talking about Fallout for a brief moment, and I couldn't remember the name of the episode. So this week, what I'm watching this week was actually, it's called Silo. It's on Apple Plus, and it's like Fallout. Anyway, what was your story?
Well,
or do you want to actually go to the question that you asked me about Roman Sol Invictus, which is what we started out. It was established in 274 AD, and it was December 25th.
AD. Oh, that's
AD.
that's a late empire.
Yeah,
Like it's
so
about to fall.
it's post. It's right. It seems like it's right before
Christian is about to take over there.
Yeah, it's right before Rome fell and became Christian.
Well, I think it became Christian first. I think
It wasn't Christian.
the religion
It wasn't Christian
Christian.
yet. Well,
with Constantine. Or was it Holy Roman Empire?
Is it? I don't know when did I'm gonna have to
Charlemagne
Google
is
that.
Charlemagne is Holy Roman Empire, but I want to say Constantine was an emperor. Someone tell me I'm wrong. And I believe he made Christianity the official religion. I think, and it's around 300 AD. I think.
Yeah, 380 is when Theodosius issued the Edict of Thessalonica.
So look at Constantine. When was he? Am I completely wrong about this?
I don't know. Constantine, 325.
Okay, so I'm a rough. But was he Christian? That's the real question. And was he an emperor of Rome?
Yeah, Emperor Constantine in 313 issued the Edict of Milan, which legalized Christianity. So it was illegal to be Christian, just like it's illegal in America to be anything but Christian today.
And he's the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity. That's what I'm. Okay, there we go. Anyway, so Rome was still going not strong per se, but
it was in a state of failure.
And they became Christian, and they broke apart and failed.
Yeah.
It's probably not the Christianity. Actually, it probably is the Christianity. One of the arguments is that Christianity is one of those religions, whether you subscribe to it or not, like whether it's true or not, there's one God and all others are not okay. And that mentality means you don't get along with people very well, like as a nation. Because, individuals, it's one thing, but as a nation, or I should say an empire of the known universe, everyone else has a bunch of different gods. And so they forcibly push that on people.
So yeah.
Whereas previous Rome didn't do that at all.
According to this Google search, the rise of Christianity was a factor in the fall of the Roman Empire, but not the only reason.
No, of course not.
They just didn't, I don't think they had the technology to police that size of land.
They went through this whole expansion era, and from what I understand, that's a pretty common occurrence with empires when they're about to fall, a la the British Empire. There's this massive expansion because, I'm just going to go with the first thing that comes to my mind. I'm not talking about specifically the British Empire. I'm talking about all empires. It's kind of reminiscent of an infection. Like the only way for it to survive is to keep feeding and getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it collapses or until it kills the body, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Such as Fitz. I have cellulitis.
So is that going to bring out the fall of Bill?
I hope not.
I hope
there
not.
For a moment, I thought it was.
It's very concerned.
Last week, had to leave GGP real quick to go to the ER.
Yeah. It was, but you made it. And one of the things that makes me like you, for all the reasons that I do, and many more, is that you showed up, even though you were sick. You made it. You put it in.
Show up. Yeah, I did show up. I was late, but I did show up.
It doesn't matter. It's fine. You're fine. You were sick.
Anyway, so the interesting part of this Roman thing, you were talking about this festival and how it was actually quite late in the empire. So what was the year again for the Sol? You call it Invictus?
Yeah, Sol Invictus. It looks like the western part of the Roman Empire ended in 476, and the eastern continued to 1453. Yeah. So that was about.
Byzantium didn't crash until the Ottomans.
Yeah,
I think it's the Ottomans.
Yeah, maybe. This is not called the History Channel Geeks podcast.
I want to say the Ottoman Empire came in and wrecked Constantinople, created Istanbul, and then that's when Byzantium went down. Pretty sure.
Which was a tough thing to do because Constantinople was a incredibly protected and fortified city, wasn't it? I mean, that was like no joke. Yeah.
It's just amazing. If you think about when Rome starts, I think it's around 800 BC. Yeah. Like officially, I think. Yeah. And you get the Romans, the emperors are really around 180 BC. I think that's Julius Caesar or whatever. Regardless, technically the Roman Empire, 800 BC, I'm guessing, we should probably look it up, until what'd you say?
1453 is the eastern part.
1453.
Or 50s, 1450s.
That's a long-ass empire. Yeah. Arguably, the Chinese dynasties, you could say China's been around for 5,000-6,000 years, but it's never been the same dynasty.
Yeah.
I don't believe another empire has been around 1,000 years plus. I don't think so. But when you get past like 1,000 BC, like into the past, like the Phoenicians and shit, I don't have a good understanding of that history. That's something I've actually been interested in looking up. So 753 BC, that's a long ass time.
Yeah.
That's like 1,500 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess there were three different. Looks like the Republic was 527 or 509 to 27 BC, and then it's kind of wild how zero. I wonder if the counting of zero, because it's about to be 2025. And we're using that calendar. So that's why I've been telling everybody happy Sol Invictus, because we're using their calendar. So that's what, happy New Year. Sure. Sol Invictus. That's where I'm at.
Well, anyway, there's the history lesson channel of all this. How was your Sol Invictus? How was your Christmas?
How was it? I was good. I celebrated the holiday with family, and we're very fortunate to come together and eat a couple of really great meals. And I'm less healthy today than I was, before Thanksgiving, because I haven't exercised, but I ate a whole bunch of sugar and food that wasn't necessarily the most nutritious, but it tasted great. And how was your holiday season?
It was very nice.
Yeah.
It has been very nice. Yeah, we We, my girlfriend and I, did many things. Yeah, went to a lot of different places. Had some stuff here. It was really interesting. And technically, just started finishing up, I guess. She bought me a black Christmas tree, like one of those little ones. You know, it's like 4 feet tall.
Nice.
And when you turn on the lights and stuff, it looks just dark green, but it's like black.
Yeah, cool.
I like Christmas. I think it's a cool thing. Yeah, and we had a lot of different faiths, if you will, spiritualities represented. So it really wasn't like a celebration of like, you know, any one religion or anything. In fact, I don't think there were any Christians.
Oh, interesting.
It was quite pagan.
Well, that's good. Good for you guys. Ours was a pretty religious, but there were people in our group that went to like a midnight service. It wasn't mass because it wasn't Catholic. Even though I have a heritage of Judaism and Catholic-ism.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you Jewish?
We were Jewish in Spain until the Spanish Inquisition, where we weren't Jewish anymore.
Right. So historically, you're no longer.
Historically, there was a potential for being Jewish, but then not.
Yeah. I was actually literally just looking it up. It's matrilineal, and it's got to be your mom. Like, if it's your grandma, doesn't count.
Yeah, it was my mom. My mom's side of the family. So
yeah, but it has to be your mom. Yeah. So, for example, as in traditionally Orthodox style, from what I understand,
sure, absolutely.
If your grandmother was Jewish and your mom was not, you were not Jewish.
Yeah. Well, but they weren't Jewish. Nobody was Jewish for hundreds of years, it seems like, in my family. So it doesn't matter. But it was definitely my mom, and then through her mom, and then through her mom. So it does go back at least 3 generations of that. But my stepmother's 100% Jewish.
Oh yeah.
That's my dad's wife. Yeah, but it makes sense. I mean, it could be my mom's wife, but
I guess it could. Yeah, it could be.
You never know.
Apparently, the Venetian Empire was pretty long, 1,000 years, but the Roman/Eastern Roman Empire is definitely. And this website at least says 27 BC to 1453.
Yeah,
I'd argue, I mean, Rome as a state started in 750, so it's a long ass time, dude.
Sure, definitely.
There's a
pre-Catholic church.
Definitely. There's I don't know when the Catholic Church starts. I'm assuming it's the Holy Roman Empire, like 500-600 AD, and took a long time to make, but I don't actually know.
I don't know.
There's a book, I forget the author, of course, but it's called Ad Infinitum. And one of the cool things about it, so to infinity, one of the cool things about it is it's like, look, there is so much pervasive influence from Rome on all of our society, including parts of the East. Yeah. Like, it's not like it's something that just happened and you know, tech bros and people that love Warhammer 40K always talk about. Apparently that's a trope. White dudes always talking about the Roman Empire.
Oh, nice. We're troping it up today.
Apparently it's a thing. I have a whole, set of armor, and I don't.
You don't?
I'm kidding.
I mean, I believe you. I presume that you have a whole set of armor because you're kind of into the Viking thing and the
glorificatus or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you know anything about the Knights Templar and their whole thing?
I do know a little bit about it. I mean, you're essentially talking about the Crusaders, but
yeah, Crusaders.
They were one of my buddies, there's a couple of my buddies that know so much more, and I am regurgitating information they gave me. It's not stuff I've read.
All right, cool.
I know there's something called a Templar Sergeant, and they wore black, which is cool, and had a red cross, I think. Maybe a white cross, but Templar Sergeants, those were like the berserkers.
Yeah.
So they would come in and just, people were like, "Oh no, get that guy! He's got a beard."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm just wondering if
they were betrayed by the church.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm wondering if that was part of the reason why. I guess the Roman Empire went so far into the Middle East at one point that it would have made quite a bit of a dent into other cultures in Asia and stuff like that.
Sure.
But I don't. They didn't get to India.
I don't think they conquered any India.
Oh no.
Although Alexander did.
Did he?
Pretty sure he did, but he was Macedonian.
Yeah. Not Roman.
I think he predates all that.
Right. What other history can we talk about? Because I really don't know anything other than American history and art history. I mean, I have a 20-year-old brain when it comes to like.
At least you know that. I mean,
some art. But that's how we know anything about history is through art.
Agreed. And my girlfriend and I were talking about the Mandela effect.
Yeah.
And she was explaining that to me a little bit.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, again, I'm just regurgitating. So if you actually know what it is or want to look it up,
it's kind of like Dunning-Kruger.
That'd be much better than me just being like, it's kind of like this, and I'm kind of wrong.
I mean, that's basically where everybody thought Mandela was dead. I thought he was dead, honestly, but he was just in prison for like 27 years.
Or something, yeah.
But I mean, we were all pretty sure he was dead, and then he wasn't.
It just hit me what you said. So my girlfriend just said this word, and I was like, it was rustling around in my brain. So correct me if I'm wrong, girl. And I'll do a test with you, Ken. So don't look this up.
I won't.
Do you remember this commercial from your childhood about peanut butter? Choosy moms choose Jif.
Yes.
Okay. Was it? Well, what is the name of that company, though? That's the question.
They make Jif a mile. They
No, they don't.
There's a peanut butter plant. Like I smell peanut butter.
This is the Mandela effect.
Yeah, right.
It's called Jiffy. It's Jiffy.
Yeah.
So it's Choosy Moms Choose Jiffy.
Yeah.
And the company has never been called Jif. And I was like, that's bullshit. I know.
So there's a Jiffy plant a mile away from my house.
There's a Jiffy plant.
But I swear to you, it's called Jif.
And that's the Mandela effect.
Does the label say Jif or?
It's Jiffy.
No.
And apparently they were like, we've never been called Jif. Ever. Ever. We've never said it. We don't know where you guys got it from. Here's the thing. Imagine, so we can look back at commercials and videos.
Sure.
And photos and whatnot and say, oh, prove it. If you go back 200 years, how do you do that? Even with oral history and all that stuff and writing shit down, all you need to do, it doesn't even have to be like a tyrant that says, strike that name from the record and now this is what really happened. Right? All like patriarchy style or what people call that. It actually could literally just be Mandela effect, where people just know that's what it was and it's completely wrong.
Right.
You know, maybe wrong one little way, but that can mean a lot.
I hate to break you. It might have been, choosy moms choose Jiffy, but they have since changed their name to Jif at this point.
Oh. Yeah. When did they change it?
I don't know.
Well, you got the power of you have all the powers of the internet.
Well,
if you're gonna call me prove you wrong like an asshole, then at least look it up and say what it is. Man.
It's because they came up with Skippy, like so. It was rebranded. If you want to have a similar name to brand apart, here's why Jif makes more sense than Jiffy. Jiffaroo makes more sense instead of Jif or Jiffy.
When did Jiffy change names to Jif? How about that?
For freaks. Well,
how about that?
I don't want to put in the words. The Phoenicians changed the name to Jif. 200 BCE.
Change name to Jif. How about that? Was Jif peanut butter ever called Jiffy? Wait, was I completely wrong?
Yeah.
Did I say it backwards?
I think you might have said it backwards. Jiffy never existed.
So I said it backwards.
Yeah.
No, motherfucker. See, it would have been a lot easier had you just looked it up. It's your fault. Unraveling the mystery.
But I just remember, I see their label in my mind, and it's just JIF. I always wanted to get Jif peanut butter as a kid because it was sweeter than my mom's all natural peanut butter.
Like an asshole. I'm going to read this shit.
Read it.
For years, there's been a persistent rumor that Jif peanut butter was once called Jiffy.
Right.
This claim has popped up in various circles, confusion. After delving into history, it's clear that there is no substantial evidence to support this claim. The Jif brand has always been known as Jif without any association with the name Jiffy. Okay, so I said it backwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I was right then.
Fuck you, man.
I mean, the plant is a mile away from my house, if even that far away. I mean, they make me smell their peanut butter. But listen to me. You convinced me that like I was, I didn't care so much. So you did convince me of something. You made me think just through our conversation that it was called Jiffy, and I was wrong because I literally didn't care, and so you pushed that information on me, and so like for a minute.
Okay, so don't look at the internet. Stop looking at that.
All right.
How do you spell
JIF?
God damn it! I would have said
not
GIF.
GIF. Not GIF.
Well,
how do you say GIF?
I say GIF because I'm not retarded. I figure if I'm going to be like painted, if I'm going to crash and burn, I might as well just crash and burn today.
But it's okay. Both pronunciations are okay. You say tomato, I say cupcake.
It's probably GIF, but I've always called it GIF, and I don't know. I also used to say in chess there's a chess move where you put the bishop in front of the or you put the bishop on the second row. I'm trying to dumb it down for people that don't know chess. There's a move where you put the bishop on an angle, and it's called fianchetto.
Yeah.
Because it's Italian. From the time of third grade, so like 8 years old, until last year when I started the Chess with Bill thing on YouTube. So that time length, I have called it fianchetto, which seems like a small thing, but that's kind of like saying like nuclear and nuclear.
Yeah, nuclear. Well, I mean,
Like-
the reason I always called GIF is because GIF is peanut butter and a GIF is like digital art.
I don't know if I want to give up my GIF.
Yeah, well, it's peanut butter.
See what? How do you?
But
how
no,
do you
it's fine.
pronounce it?
But I mean, I live in a state where Versailles is Versailles or Paris is Paris.
Well, who wants to say Paris?
But I want to say Paris. I
You get
want to
close
go
to
to
the food.
Paris. It's only like 30 miles up the way. Or
Yeah.
15.
If somebody in Kentucky, if you're like, I'm going to go to Paris, and they're going to be like, what did you just say? Now, Versailles, I think is perfectly fine. Paris, fine. Athens, I do have a problem with. I will say Athens. I won't call it Athens. Athens is stupid.
Athens. Yeah.
Like Versailles, I can understand because if you look at Versailles, the word, the way the French pronounce it, they skip a lot of letters.
Yeah.
Paris, same difference. Paris, it's got an S. Paris.
Right.
But Athens, that doesn't make sense. It's ATH.
Yeah.
Why would you don't say Apple, you say Apple.
Yeah. But you don't say
Why would you say-
Versailles. You say Versailles.
Well, you don't usually pronounce the ES anyway.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that people here, they don't say Versailles. They say Versailles.
Right. Because that's how
Even though
English
it's
is
spelled
pronounced.
Versailles.
You mean because it has the two L's?
Yeah.
Versailles? No, I don't think so.
No.
Maybe.
Okay. I don't know. What about
No,
Lowell?
I mean like Louisville?
Yeah, Lowell.
Louisville. Well, how to say this? You can say Louisville,
Or Louisville's.
but what? Why would you put an S on it?
No, I'm just messing with you.
Do you say Illinois or Illinois?
I think I say Illinois.
Yeah.
I also say Caribbean, and I don't say
Do you say
Caribbean.
Chicago or Chicago?
I say Chicago.
Yeah, I say Chicago, right? That's why we're friends. So the thing is, do you say St. Louis or St. Louis?
I say St. Louis, but I also live near a city called Versailles.
I don't know if I would say St. Louis or St. Louis. I could say either one. If someone says Louisville, I just know they're not from Kentucky.
Louisville.
Actually, that's how the French would say it, Louisville.
Yeah.
They would pronounce it, which is ironic.
Yeah. Because it's
can't
after
believe
the
I'm wrong.
King Louis or whatever. Louis.
There's like 17 of those guys, dude.
So people who watch our show can essentially get dumber. Or listen.
May God help you. Save your soul.
So when I went to write our YouTube description, I often use ChatGPT as an assistant.
Sure.
As full exposure or full disclosure. Well, ChatGPT was down earlier today, which sent off a little panic button. Oh, well, I'm gonna have to write the whole thing by myself. Which I didn't, because I realized that there are many ChatGPT
really?
Yeah, you got Gemini, you got
Do you
a
use
bunch of
Grok?
other ones. I haven't.
That's the one that's Twitter or X or whatever. The reason I may have said this before. The reason that I resist calling Twitter X
Yeah.
is because X, so it's a letter of the alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
While it looks cool as a logo, like in my notes app and all that stuff, or in anything, to search and find Twitter is pretty unique. To find X, even a capital X, it's not a particularly used letter, right? But even a capital X, it's actually kind of hard to find. And having the multiple syllables, like Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, TikTok, like you can say it and say it fast, and it has a cadence. X, like with that sibilance and all that, and it's just a vowel or a vowel sound. Like it's kind of hard to talk about. You have to like pause. Oh, on X, blah 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 blah.
Well, X makes sense because all you have to do is type in X to get to Twitter.
Right. Also, it just works. Like you send a tweet. What do you send now?
An X.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, X also means a lot of things like wrong or it has a lot of different meanings. X, or like, I guess, canceled.
Targeted.
X
marks the spot.
Yeah. It can show locations. So there's a whole lot of different meanings behind X. But I like canceled. I think canceled is, and I think that's why he called it X. And it's visually interesting. The X. I think X also means like a warning to someone. If you put your arms up like an X.
Yep. It means no.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Don't go here.
Don't do it. Whatever you're doing, stop.
I honestly don't mind X or Twitter. Twitter. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think they should change. They abandoned the little bird, right? The bird graphic is gone.
Probably. I didn't. Regardless, I don't have a problem with Twitter, but I don't really consider it useful. I mean, someone told me, and in fact, this is sort of a clapback to our last week's episode. Was it John D'Amato that was in the advertising and branding and that stuff? It's free branding, like it's free marketing. In terms of money, you can jump on X, Twitter, you can jump on these social media, etc., and brand yourself and market yourself and advertise, and it's free to do monetarily. One of the things we talked about last week, though, was the opportunity cost and the mental strain. Oddly, how big of a deal it is to just be, you need to be on these things every day at a certain time.
Yeah.
You got to use the right keywords, which means you look it up. You got to post, in accordance with your targeted, etc. Like, that's a job.
Yeah.
One of them is a job. And there's all these ways, they make them different formats with the videos and all these things. You jump through all these hoops. You end up spending a lot of time for this quote unquote free marketing. So the question is it worthwhile to do? I think we've seen people do it very successfully. And I've also seen a majority of people not do it successfully. Yeah, like most people, they're on there, they're doing all the steps, they're making the videos, and it comes off very tropey. Right. And sure, they get some followers and whatnot, and probably a little bit of business, which is good.
Sure.
And then the argument is always, it seems, well, you got to do it, and just consistency. And that sounds like gambling to me.
Yeah, but I mean, it's usually if you're an expert about something, a YouTuber is going to get a lot of views, and if they are already an expert about a thing, and they can make a video, the buy-in is less time consuming because they're already there. And I think a lot of people want to know about that stuff. I even often am happy that there are YouTubers out there that are really smart, and I don't watch all their content, but when they keyword their subject matter correct, I can troubleshoot computer issues or learn a new talent or skill. And I think it's wonderful. If it's something that they're doing, and I think this is kind of what YouTubers, like, this is the business model. If it's something that you're into, do it. If it's something that you don't enjoy, like, you're going to grind your wheels.
Don't do it.
And you'll probably fail because you'll quit at some point.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And we're gaming experts, or you're a gaming expert, and I run the back end. I'm a streaming expert.
I don't know if I'm a gaming expert.
Well, you wrote a game. You cared enough to write your own game, so that gives you credibility. Whatever you published it, you wrote it. You go to places, you try to sell it. You play it for 4 hours a week. Some would say that's not enough time. So you're right about the investment.
I've done it a lot more though. The thing is, marketing is really the thing.
Right, but go on. I was just the marketing. My response to that is the algorithm, the way it's supposed to work. It's supposed to find your content and pick it up if people connect to it. Our algorithm, we're posting a ton of shorts right now, and it's not getting. People are only watching it for like 20% of the video, or 20 to 40%. It's not high.
Though. That's common.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and here's the other thing about like social media that I've seen, especially from our endeavor of trying to get an audience. The idea of thinking about, let's say, just YouTube.
Right.
YouTube is not one thing, right? It's a marketplace when it comes down to it. And there's different genres and target audiences. And that's not really how I've ever thought about YouTube. Mm-hmm. I think in terms of like, oh, they got a lot of views. But you just mentioned experts making videos. Like, that's a genre. Go to Netflix and see like action movies. That's like a tile that you would find. Sure. You don't find it on YouTube.
Our that podcast is under how to and style. It's not under gaming. Yeah. Well, I switched it.
How to?
Yeah, how to and style. How to play games, because we talk a lot about how to play games. I think a lot of our commentary is how to deal. Last week, I think the Outrage Overlord podcast. I think his podcast is how to deal with other people, how to process and not be outraged by other things. With games, you have talked at length about how people lose their friends because they can't play the game together correctly.
Right. Or in a way that works.
Yeah.
I wonder though, this is actually good. This is a good concept to think about. So the way that a creator or an artist or whatever you want to call yourself thinks about their work, like the sort of stereotypical, you got a band, get it together, you make the album, and it's like, okay, what are we going to call the album?
Right.
Like, you got to distill it. And the band thinks, well, what is this album about? Right? What's cool? What do we want to be represented by? Mm-hmm. That's actually not always, but it's not necessarily the right way to think about it in any way. Because the name of the album is actually the marketing. Mm-hmm. You want people to listen to the album, and so that's why you name it, so you can talk about it and you can sell it. It actually has nothing to do. It doesn't have to do. It is not necessary for it to have to evoke what the band is about at all. For example, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness.
Yeah. Good song,
awesome.
Terrible album.
Okay. We'll just agree to disagree that you're wrong.
Yeah, you're right. We disagree.
Also, the artwork is on the
artwork is great
So, I would say that title
and stolen.
Huh? Oh,
I said
would
it's
say
great
that
and
title,
stolen.
You
Yeah,
ADHD motherfucker! I would say that title easily evokes what Smashing Pumpkins 101 or 1.0 was about.
Yeah.
Like, it's great, a great title for an album. Now, their next album, Adore, not so much. I mean, one could argue, but when someone says Adore, I would say that's just what the album is about. It's about love, you know, in a really dark way. But it doesn't evoke. It's fine as a Smashing Pumpkins album name, but if someone says, "Oh, if you've never heard of them, there's this album called Adore," you've no idea what kind of music it is.
Right.
But if someone says, "Oh, it's called Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness," you got a good pretty good idea.
It's very adjective heavy. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to get at is creators. You know, Smashing Pumpkins could get away with this because they were bloody famous when they did Adore, and then people didn't like it much, although I did.
Yeah.
Creators think about their content in one way. Marketing thinks about it in a different way. For example, what is the little genre that this podcast should be under? We would say how to, because we're talking about how to do stuff. We're explaining stuff. But is that why someone would actually listen to us? To find out how to? I don't think so.
Well, one of the reasons why they listen to us is that we send them a link and they're our friends and we're like, you should listen to it. For instance, I sent a link to the former band manager of the Smashing Pumpkins, and he listened to us. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well,
not that it means anything.
That I'm all about Smashing Pumpkins 2.0.
I was supposed to meet him at one point, and we went backstage, and he went the first night, but not the second night, and so I didn't meet him. I was this close, but I also get it. I've met a lot of musicians, and after a show, it doesn't matter. But anyway, I am totally off topic.
It would be real interesting. He seems like a very intelligent dude, especially now. He seems to have a lot of perspective. I wonder what a show would be like. In fact, my girlfriend and I were talking about maybe catching a pumpkin show. Without James Yeehaw, without Darcy, without, what is it? What's the drummer's name? Shit. Jimmy Chamberlain. I don't know. It seems like a different band. So, but I'd give it a chance. I think.
I think
it'd be really good, actually.
If Billy Corgan, wasn't he he was the main writer? No, I mean, I don't know who I didn't follow them enough, but usually
in a big way.
You follow the writer, and he's also the front man. So, that's why the Smashing Pumpkins name traveled with him. It's like, no doubt, she had a band before. Or before she was signed, and it was a different style of band. And then when she got signed, it just makes sense to drop those players. It's amazing to me that's just a thing that happens over and over again when you have a front man in a band, that the Smashing Pumpkins had that togetherness and connective of a band for as long as they did. People drop out all the time and have an interest lost. I
mean, they fucking hated each other.
Yeah. Well, so did the Beatles.
I should say they didn't hate each other. They hated Billy Corgan.
Yeah. I mean, and I bet Billy Corgan has
he's apologized maybe the wrong word. He's admitted that he was an asshole.
Yeah, but people get older and they realize, when you're in the moment, I was an asshole. Like when I was making music videos on MTV, and I had a really short. And then as I've gotten older, and less successful,
bigger.
like I've developed a humility as hard as, like, if this is humble, whatever this is humble for me.
Right.
Humbling. And you get perspective and context.
All right. Well, let's take a short break, like 5-ish minutes or something.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
I'm going to use the bathroom. Or you can continue. But
Yeah,
I didn't want to out myself. But that's what I'm going to do. So we can break and chat about stuff. But,
all right. And for this break, what I'm going to do is you can go ahead if you want. I'm going to play some of our podcasts from the recent past, because I wanted to go over our podcasts, and if I can do this at the same time as we're streaming to our channel, that's going to be a fun and exciting loop as well. So I am going to go back, and one of the things I wanted to do is see if I might have to go to Dreadlore's page and see if I can pull up the first episode of the Geeky Gamer Podcast. And this is the first year that we've done this. So I just want to see if there's been improvement, if there's been, like, where we are we doing it right? Is the reality of a proof of concept where we've improved? We've definitely improved in our podcasting ability. So let's go back to the past, onto the original channel where we were. We're going to go to episode 1 of the Geeky Gamer Podcast, featuring, it's not even that's not right. Okay, no, we got it. All right, here it is. And we'll see how we are. Look at this. Oh, we're different. We're definitely different, but I think it'll be fun to step into that world just for a second. And I will turn the volume on because that needs to happen. Do they still make New Mario? I think we're talking Mario.
And I haven't played the new Super Mario RPG because honestly, I don't like that turn-based in video games. It's just not. Except Deltarune. I really like Deltarune, but it's more of it's for the vibe, not for the gameplay, you know?
Like an art style, or
yeah, the art style and the plot, because it's like based on you like beat people with love, essentially.
Well, if only it worked like that in real life.
right like for each of the enemies you have the option to attack, but you can like be like miss or like, you know, tell them something heartfelt, or it's so silly.
Nice.
But I definitely Super Mario Sunshine is definitely my favorite. That one's on the GameCube. Except for the god-awful camera.
Is that a relatively new game or an older game?
No, it was in 2002, I believe. It was initially meant for the Nintendo 64, but Nintendo hyped up the 64 a little bit too much, and so a lot of those games ended up getting redesigned for the GameCube instead because they bit off more than they could chew, and Super Mario Sunshine was one of those. And so was Animal Crossing.
The games are bigger than the system requirements.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. That's sounds like
you know what I'm trying to say.
A failure in and equipment.
Yeah.
Well, that's wild. Did you see I think there's a new Mario film. Did you see the film, or
I haven't seen the film.
Is that like an interest to you, or is that like...
I don't know yet, because like I've thought about it, and if it's bad, I'm gonna be so mad.
Have they made a good Mario film? Like, I remember
Do you remember the OG one?
Yeah, like a long time ago.
Oh, yes, I do. I saw that in theaters.
You did?
Yes.
Watching it at my grandma's house. But I think I was still too young to understand, like, what's on the TV isn't real, so I think I was scared for like a month.
I don't remember much. It's been a long time.
Also known as Goombas.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
anthropomorphic
I,
SFX.
I YouTube being the way it is, I know that I saw like a secret hack to where you can beat Mario in like 42 seconds or something like that recently. Do you know all the hacks?
The
or
the
do you-
OG Mario. Yeah, I do know.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. There's a pipe, and I think it's level 1, or it might be level
Yeah.
2.
It's in
Level
the
1, 2.
Yeah,
it's
it is
in the
level 1
dungeon.
too. It's in the dungeon, and you can go over, and then you can skip basically the entire game.
But it's not
There's
going
some
over, it's like going through or something.
yeah. It's like you're going through the pipes, and then you end up, I don't know, in the toilet of the last level.
So that was something that I was
I've never
subjected
seen
to
fun of
early.
crawl into a
Uh,
No, I would be so concerned.
what about you, Hulker? What got you into gaming? What kind of games are you into?
Tonight's sponsor is very near and dear to my heart.
Do it.
Tonight's sponsor is the Winesburg, Ohio Parliamentary LARP. Yes, the Winesburg Parliament live-action role-playing group consists of a quorum of self-elected individuals who divide up into 2 houses of players and reenact the process of attaching riders to appropriations bills. If you are ever in Winesburg, Ohio on a Saturday night, please check out the Winesburg Parliament LARP, and don't ever check out the Winesburg Vampire LARP down the road that totally sucks.
I mean,
Thank you for that sponsorship. I feel like we're all happier now because now we're more financially the same as we were before. But
Don't ever check out that Vampire LARP, the Winesburg Vampire LARP. They suck. They're horrible.
good job.
The storyteller totally did not get expelled from that LARP at all. He just wants to make sure of that, right? This is not an attempt. This is not some rival attempt that he thought of after one of his stories didn't go well, and he realized he didn't build his character that well, and he just couldn't take it. It had nothing to do with that. He'd been planning this for years. Okay,
no spite. Spite free.
none.
So what got you into being into games, Hulker?
Okay. I remember 1985, and I went over to my uncle's house, and he plugged in Super Mario Brothers that he had just bought from, I think, Walmart or wherever. And he started playing it. Huh?
Was it the one with Duck Hunt, or was it?
Yeah. I think it.
The mat.
No,
You know the mat that you would like with the where you would.
it was the one with Duck Hunt. Yeah.
So it had the gun.
Okay, so it is the Donkey Kong one. That's what you're talking about.
No,
I'm
the
the Mario
Mario,
expert, I can answer that.
the Mario
Are you
Brothers.
Yeah,
It's the
so
one
you're
with
talking
Mario
about the
Brothers, the original Mario Brothers, and Duck Hunt.
Okay, so that is the one that has Donkey Kong in it.
I don't think that was the.
Donkey Kong?
No, I don't.
They just had the 2
No.
games. There was an Olympic one where that came with like a little plastic mat that you could like if you ran you would lose.
Yeah, I played that over at a friend's as well.
And like the trick was like you just moved your heels up and down really
Yeah.
fast. It wasn't about running.
And I'll also tell you, I had one of the worst products. Probably the second worst product Nintendo ever put out, and that was the Power Glove.
I remember that too.
Yeah. Oh, the commercials hyped it up so much, right? But it didn't really work. But I eventually got a Nintendo. I played a few games. I really liked them. I think I eventually got a Super Nintendo. I would have been fine with a Sega Genesis, but I ended up with a Super Nintendo.
You use the Game Genies. Remember the
Oh hell yes,
where you
yeah.
like,
And I even took some of the codes and I would modify them by one letter, right? And you would get even crazier effects. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a rival to that one too called the Pro Action Replay.
Uh-huh.
It was just another version of the Game Genie, but it wasn't as well known, but it still worked.
I
Nice.
also think of the
So-
Game Shark.
Yeah, that too.
Shark. I've not heard of that one.
It was
Did you
for
get the
handhelds
magazines?
mainly.
Okay.
I did. I was the nerd that had all the magazines.
Me
the
too.
Game Informers and all
Game
that.
Pro.
jazz were yeah, and then what was I liked the manuals too, like the stuff that you would be like, I don't know, for Pokemon it would have like all 151 in there, and it'd be like have like
Yeah.
the locations. It's like a physical book.
I'll see if I have any
gave you
left.
the
I'll be right back.
Has any of this stuff like affected you in real life? I mean, your day jobs, etc. Like, you don't have to go into detail what you do for a living, but it has gaming influenced like your chosen professions. Am I alone? I feel like I'm no.
You are not alone.
I always feel like
So how has it affected? Well, I mean,
did it or did it? I mean, did it have any influence over your chosen profession?
I definitely enjoy the tactile storytelling experience that gaming gives. So, I don't know if it necessarily affected what I do like in terms of like my job, because like as a camera operator or like a shooter. There it is, Game Pro. It's the real deal.
The stars of night. Is that 1993 right there? Is that
Yeah, hold on.
pulling out some like vintage vintage paper?
Memorabilia. There's the word I'm looking for.
Nice. That thing's
Yeah.
in mint. That is
in
mint
really good shape.
condition. Yeah,
Almost.
near mint.
Near mint. I've got the top.
Oh,
100
did you have one of those? Those little controllers? Like I remember when that controller came out, and I don't remember it being any better than just having like a handheld little poopy thing.
All the gimmicky Nintendo shit was terrible, dude. In the beginning, I don't know. I always did want that robot that would like change your cartridges for you.
Yeah.
It was a Japanese exclusive. Anyway, I don't know.
So
I
real
do
life,
art. I do art as my job, and I do think that enjoying like the creative space of storytelling, growing up and into this point, I think it has probably benefited me in a way that I may not realize. I guess that'll be my answer.
so like real life, like if we think about real life, has gaming affected your life and your work in a positive way or a negative way?
I think positively.
You do. That's
Yeah, it's a time suck. It is.
But
It does take a lot of.
are the benefits, do you find benefit from like for instance a role-playing game?
Oh
do
yeah.
do you work like what we do with Dreadlore? Do you play other
Nord have put a whole lot together. Loretta is probably the smartest one of them. Smarter than Lady K. Definitely smarter than Grimwald. So Simon might think, why even do this? Just because it's evil? Well, that'd make sense. And she wasn't just waiting for you to get here to do it. So she hasn't monologued yet, right? She's not stupid. Why would she not just kill them if it immediately worked and sped up the process? As Simon realizes, he is weakening it. He sees the souls or soul strands, which I don't know if he'd know what that means, but he sees parts of the soul that escape go into Nordstaff and into Loretta. As it might dawn on him, he is stopping it short of what it should be doing. And it's splitting up because Nord's sharing the profits.
Okay.
So is it working? Yes. There is something about them on the altars that she wanted.
I'm guessing that it's more so the agony that you're
Perhaps.
that she's feeding off of.
I would say with the bid Street Smart, that makes sense. Because they don't look like they're having fun.
Right. Okay. And so that was my last blunderbuss ammo. But I'm going to put it away and pull out my snub nose and head towards the next. So I'm just making the
making around
the. Yep.
Okay, there is one more. For 3 of them were dusted, and there were only 3 left. And you've offed 2. There's one more.
Okay. Yeah.
Who's next? Oh, you get around to the front of the room at this point, Simon. As we're going to say, you're coming around counterclockwise. Most of them are at the far end of the room where you guys came in. As you're coming around, you see that blue shroud moving, undulating as you sort of like move around it. And you can see on the other side, the tunnel is still intact. But there's this gas that's wafting around in there. And the bodies that are in there of the cultists, there's a couple of them that are moving still, but they look like they did not enjoy that gas. Beyond where the door is, you see it's all fused. And what you can see is the room has collapsed in there. Has it completely collapsed? It's hard to tell, but you're going to get that view. All right, who's next?
Tony finishes putting himself together. However, there's a bit of a twist. When he was putting himself together, he wasn't really picky. So most of his gear is now in him. He is now part man, part baton, part 38 special, part wallet, and part dirt.
A man of many things. A jack of all trades, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is now in him.
Nailing
They are
down
one with Tony.
the graphic art group that does it. I've talked to Glass House in Florida and a few other places that have sort of an anime style to it that comports well with.
Oh, you want an anime
genre.
style to it.
Yeah, I think it'll
okay.
go really well with what I've got going on. So I think the same kind of folks that would like to that watch Demon Slayer, the same kind of folks that watch Robotech. Yeah, that kind of art.
Now here's a question: did you ever watch Macross Plus?
I did. I think first and third generation were the best. The original Macross, Hunter, Roy Fokker, Min May, that was the best. I think the third one with the Invid was pretty good.
You're talking about Robotech. You're not talking about
human.
You're talking about Robotech, which is the American adaptation of Macross.
That's right. So in Macross Plus, but of course Macross Island and everything. Yeah, you're right. So that's exactly right. So that's what I'm talking about when I say that. So yes, so I've watched it, but it's not the same.
No, it's not the same. No, it's not the same. Macross Plus, my brother got me into, and I think it's just like a mini series way back. Like there's only like 4 tapes to it. That's right, tapes.
Did you say tapes?
cassette tapes. VHS.
Dating yourself, my brother. Dating yourself.
One of our buddies, I still have it. He gave me the entire first season of Robotech, and it's on. I think it's on 1. It might be on 2.
Good.
Tapes, which he.
Good to see you again.
Yay.
We've definitely done a lot of things since we interviewed JV Hilliard, best selling author, fantasy, and D&D geek. So that was a good show. I enjoyed that. We talked about some anime stuff, so that's cool. Let's do you think where is GGP going, and what in the last year, what do you think about what we've done so far?
Well, we've really fucked up.
Clearly.
I think you and I have put away a lot of bourbon. And that's
so it's
always
a stamina test.
It's a stamina test. You rolled brawn, failed a few times.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
It's been an interesting year one. Have we been doing it a full year?
No. We've been doing it a full since last year, though. I mean, since this is the first year. So this is 2024. 2023 GGP was not a thing. According to our
first one was December of 2023.
Was it?
I think
but according to our channel, we joined in May of 2024.
This is what we're drinking.
Yeah.
This is my favorite bourbon.
Got some Knob Creek.
Yeah, like basic bitch Knob Creek. It's delicious.
Yeah, I like some Knob Creek. It's good. I didn't really know much. I didn't start ordering it at bars until like I found that I like it. I think I like the Knob Creek more than the Bullet. I mean, because it is, I don't know, something about it.
It's got balls.
It's yeah.
It's got balls.
I mean, I used to drink Kentucky Gentleman.
I'm not surprised.
Because it was so cheap, and
that's when you don't drink.
Cheap.
That's when you don't drink. So in my mind, if I am too poor, if I'm going very old Barton,
in my 20s, I'm talking 20s. When you're 20s, you can drink.
I know you drink like Old Pro and shit, but like, if you're going very old Barton, the only caveat is Evan Williams. That's the only one that I found.
Yeah, Evan Williams is great. We should get a sponsorship from them.
The thing is this, in my opinion,
right?
If I'm not drinking $25, $35 bourbon, then it's not at all worth the cost of life. Like, bourbon does not make me feel good. Whoa. I mean, like, it doesn't necessarily make me feel bad, but it does not make me feel good. I enjoy the taste. I enjoy the flavor, like a dessert.
Right. It is a dessert.
The thing is, I'll eat when it comes to bourbon and this metaphor. I'll eat like 4 of them, and then you get sick.
Yeah, you can't do that though. You can eat 2 of them.
I don't want to have like imagine you're drinking chocolate milk. If Andrea was here, she'd know what I'm talking about because Andrea can house some chocolate milk.
Yeah.
Imagine you're drinking chocolate milk and you're like, oh yeah, you get the Ghirardelli chocolate and the milk of your fucking preference or whatever. Big like farm cow milk, like with the chunk, you shake that shit up.
And then you get the milk farts.
Yeah. Or you're like, oh, I'll go get the skim milk from Kroger or Ralph's and like Nestle.
Yeah, some quick.
Offhand.
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing that? Just to drink it? Like,
some sugar.
If I'm doing that, then I'm going down the road of hell.
Yeah. All right. None of that answered my question of what's next for GGP, even though I am trying to get a bourbon distributor, to join us, at least for a conversation. And not a sponsorship, because my thoughts are, if we're doing gaming, there is alcohol involved.
Yeah, it's a drinking game.
It is a drinking game. It's certainly a drinking game for 20-somethings who game. Maybe not all, but that was my experience as a 16-year-old getting into Dungeons and Dragons. We drank beer and we gamed.
Yeah.
Not legally.
If you're not gaming, it's like, I get it. Some people are like all straight edge about it. They're like, oh, I got my tea. And I'm like, yeah, but you also suck at gaming.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't have that rage.
Yeah, you need some rage in there. People that drink bourbon have a little rage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I one of the things that I have to say about us as friends is we can drink bourbon, like absolutely hate each other. At the end of the day, think we'll never talk again, drop everything, and then like come back. That's a friend.
That's right. It's pretty much mostly bourbon, and that's the problem. Whiskey drunk makes you want to fight.
Yeah, it makes you want to fight. You want to fight. I want to fight right now. I want to fight. I'm ready. Let's go. Fuck you, man. Fuck you.
Right. Whiskey makes you want to fight and fuck, or either. This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, let me raise my chair really quick.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm gonna lower my camera.
More focus on our target audience, which means finding our target audience. This is before the break. I think with the direction that I was going in. Who do we target? Are we a how-to show? I don't think so. Who likes to watch two assholes drinking and talking semi-intelligently, although attempting to actually have their facts straight, about geeky stuff and interviewing geeky people about what they're geeky about? That's who we need to name and target. And I think we should continue doing shows that we find interesting. Because we've had a few guests, we get our guests from Podmatch primarily. Although you can go to our website and contact us if you want to be on.
It's true. And I think there's a couple that I'm excited about. There's a guy who developed a game, RPG that we want to play. They haven't signed up. They haven't signed up for. Do they have a date?
They do have a date. It's in January at some point.
Yeah.
So they've sent the materials and everything. Like that's going to be a good one.
Looking at my calendar, we have booked. We have a guest on Monday, Elias, or on not Monday, on Thursday. The second. I don't know why I said Monday, because I thought Thursday was a Monday for some reason. Elias and Michael and John and Jeff all booked, and the 23rd is the only date that we don't have booked at this point, according to my calendar. Out of those four, how many of those guys do you think are actually going to show?
I think all of them.
You think they all will?
I think all of them. Because all of those guys, well, there's three of them, right?
Yeah. They're four.
They're four? Okay. Yeah. Out of those four guys, I'm pretty sure that at least three of them have already jumped on the Discord.
So they're already in there. And I think that's something that we were working on how do we, once we've confirmed a guest, to get them to actually appear on the Discord, because part of what makes you geeky enough to be on the Geeky Gamer Podcast, we have learned, is the ability to join a Discord server and turn your camera on.
Oh yeah.
That is.
Oh yeah. Like we zoomed for one guy and he was a good guy.
Yeah, he was great.
Good guy. We're not doing it anymore.
Yeah,
we're not doing that anymore.
There's
we're
a
using
threshold.
Discord. That's it.
And you have to you have to do a couple of things. You have to read and like process some commands to join our Discord server that we don't just let any bot on to the Discord server.
Right. Also, don't show up drunk. You're welcome to get drunk during.
But I like showing
But don't
drunk.
show up drunk. Don't show up drunk.
You got to start. Yeah.
You know, get drunk during the podcast.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't show up and be like raging that you can't figure out Discord.
Yeah. It's true.
You know, be like, my time's worth more than this. When it's like, you're on Podmax.
Yeah.
You're on our podcast.
Yeah, you're paying to be on our show.
Okay, you asked to do this. Also, I'm going to speak directly. You know, when you have the bravado to be like, when I'm like, hey, listen, Discord is kind of a beast. You should probably get on the day before and I'll help you. To have the bravado, the nuts, to be like, man, who's scared of Discord? And then get mad about it. No.
Yeah.
Although it wasn't. It was interesting. It was an interesting.
I wanted to talk more to them. I wish they were slightly more sober because I wanted to, like, I really wanted to go into some detail and talk honestly, more to them.
But that pales in comparison. We're talking about the past a little bit here.
Yeah.
Most of our guests have been a positive. I'd say the vast majority have been even if I don't like them much.
Yeah.
Have been a positive experience. There's only been one or two that I was like, oh
yeah, you suffered their own. But I think those are guests that I liked.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a completely subjective thing.
Yeah.
And we got through it and it was fun.
And that's what I like about us is that, you know, we are different enough to where if there's, because I know I've typed to you a couple of times myself, like I don't have anything for this person.
Yeah.
And you had a conversation with them and you were great.
There's the one that Drizzle jumped on that you weren't there for.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I needed my medication or what.
Yeah.
But I started that conversation with, hi, I want to blow my brains out. That dude, champ, man. Like he was an absolute, I was so dark.
He pushed through it. That's great.
Yeah.
That is really great. Good for you. Way to push through it.
That's right. Way to do this podcast.
All right.
He had some really good stuff to say too.
We were on break watching episode 1 of the Geeky Gamer Podcast with Max and Jazzy, and I think Hulker was there. You were not there. And it was kind of like an after hours, but with a different, with the twist. I mean, the graphics weren't for the Geeky Gamer Podcast, didn't exist then. I was sitting in the dark for some reason. And it was all much darker than it is today because I think we've kind of improved our aesthetic. Have you noticed any improvements between us and our abilities or questions or anything? Have you noticed an improvement at all with GGP?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, one, we're not doing 7-hour podcasts. That's good.
Yeah, no, I think we should wrap it up in the next 10 minutes, but yeah.
Yeah. There's the feeling of like, you know, in the beginning, it's like we're all just hanging out, having a good time, getting toasty. That's great. But when we started inviting like strangers, like guests that want to promote their own stuff, they were not interested in that, which is good. It's become more of a focused thing. Someone listening to this podcast might think, how is this anymore? How can this be described as focused? But yeah, we've improved in that regard. We've improved in taking turns and kind of feeling out which one of us is maybe vibing better with the guest and taking cues a little bit more. I think we still struggle sometimes with talking over, but by and large, it's pretty good. We're not wasting as much time in the podcast or out of it, which I think out of the podcast that's the time that is actually more important in some ways for our own mental stability, and
it makes us more sustainable. Yeah.
Like, I mean, there was a point where I know you were spending a healthy amount of time.
Well, I was building world. That's it, for the Dreadlore podcast that we do on Monday nights on the same Twitch channel. It's world building. Like, you wrote the book and you created the story, but I had to create all the elements, all the art. So it was that, I think, is interesting. I didn't have to. I wanted to.
Yeah, it's extremely cool.
And then that was before, and I hadn't done live streaming in 5 to 8 years, and so technology changed. And I mean, I'm not saying our stream is advanced at this point, but I had a learning curve. I had to relearn a couple of things and come up with a process and a protocol of how to do the technology and then streamline it, so I didn't spend 5 hours trying to set up as well. Right now I'm at if I'm in a bad way, it's about an hour to set up.
So it's streamlined, and that means, it doesn't matter what you're doing, what a person is doing. There's an element of resentment. Like when I started streaming the gaming on Dreadlore's Twitch, we were playing D&D. Richmond Fay, you guys can still check it on YouTube.
It exists. I will totally.
We were at that game for a while, and a very critical role story. We didn't get famous. And the setup to that game, we would go over to Chris's house, and there's a point where it was all me. I would set up all the equipment, and it would take me baseline 45 minutes, probably an hour, at the start an hour and a half. And then you have all the tech issues with software issues with OBS and all the crap and getting levels, and did the people turn off their mics so we have batteries, blah, 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 blah. And then people's attitudes. I had one guy who was like, oh, I don't want to wear the mic today. Just shit like that.
Right.
And there was a moment where I was like, this is something I wanted to do. And I was like, building this resentment, Eventually, though, like it was this well-oiled machine. I'd come in, literally all of the players, they had their tasks. They would build out the studio. Drizzle was like the main, like the foreman, just tearing it up. And we would get it done in like 15 minutes, just boom. Everyone was on point. And that was really cool. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is we have definitely streamlined that on my end with socials and all that crap. I have streamlined / just cut the fat, almost to the point where like there's certain socials I just don't even do, because I'm like, you know what? That's not the focus. This is the focus. I'm behind on posting to the Spotify. It will be done. It'll be a big old, scheduled, etc. And they're each going to come out once a week. So we're like technically very ahead of time. From a certain point of view, we're fine.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Knowing how to be sane and still doing it, that's really important. Like the pacing is more important. Like you're in the marathon, even if you're just sort of like walking, shuffling your feet, moving forward, you're at least in the race still. But the moment you sit down, you're done. And you got to pace yourself. So there's a moment for me, especially with socials, where I was just like, I'm done with the grind. like I'm ready to quit.
Mm-hmm.
What's better is trim the fat, keep doing the content, which is the reason we're doing it, and then do some catch up just with that pacing.
Yeah, and we had a lot of conversation about it's got to be fun for us. So we've gone through this whole, like, because it wasn't fun there for a while, and I think I'm getting to the point where I am disgruntled if we cancel, because it's time that I've put into setting up, and that is time that I would like back. Time that if we do a no show or we don't podcast, that means that I've lost an hour, and beyond that I could have been doing something completely different. But what you're saying is the only way that we could possibly sustain is if we protect ourselves and listen to ourselves and do.
Right.
We don't stress ourselves out about any of this stuff. We can't, because it becomes a job, and it is clearly what we are doing is not a job. This is just a labor of love.
My old buddy, Bad Pancake, said once, he said a hobby is a job you don't get paid for.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's true or not, right? Or if it's valid or not, but I gain something from it. When I consider, the buy-in of a hobby. Like the moment someone's like, dude, we're not even getting paid, it's like, then you're not going to last. Because the fact is, on a hobby, you don't get paid. You're doing it because you want to get good. You want to be better. You want to be excellent. The payment is not a paycheck.
Yeah.
That's work. That's a job. With a job, you get paid in the form of a paycheck. And like, I don't know, conjugal visits if you break the law or something. For a hobby, you don't get a paycheck. Now, the dream, right, is for that hobby to start generating cash, and then you reorchestrate, have a business.
Sure, and it's a weird thing for me because streaming used to be a job for me. Like that's right. Like I was paid a salary to stream, like 3-4 shows, maybe 5 shows a week, depending on what was going on. Early days internet and stuff like that, and so it was tough for me to take something that I was getting paid for and do similar things and not get paid for it, and not have health insurance and not have any of that stuff, going from a job to no job. And then I have expectations because I am coming from a place where people showed up, and if they didn't show up, there was consequences. Whereas where we are, I mean, yeah, there's consequences if one of our guests doesn't show, but we've only really berated one person.
Not really, though.
And
we've lampooned a couple, and they need to be lampooned.
Yeah. And we could have lampooned the guest today, but I mean, at this point, it's old hat. We've been stood up enough times to where it doesn't matter, and even. I don't think it's malicious. It doesn't matter.
I will give this person.
But I've wanted to be malicious. Yeah, I wanted to be malicious about it. I mean, I always want to be malicious about it because I think that's the nature of humanity. Like if somebody cuts you off in traffic, you want to be malicious about it a little bit. Like you want to see them get theirs. But with podcasting and the nature of streaming online, it's just it doesn't matter. I mean, we have a good conversation, just you and I, anyway, between ourselves. So
right.
What I don't need them. It's their loss in my mind at this point. I feel like, to me, every podcast that we do, whether it's role playing or this one, I learn how to communicate better. I learn how to say less, even though I said it just before. That is a goal for me. I want to say less in conversations, and I want to learn about shit that I never thought about or cared about. I want to learn about things that I don't know about, or I want to learn more about things that I do care about by an expert.
Which brings us back to the idea of where does GGP go? So obviously we want to have guests that we've vetted.
Yeah, curated. I don't think we vet them, but we certainly do curate them.
I mean, they got to get into Discord.
Yeah, there's some vetting.
You know, they've got to respond within like 3 days. You know, we've had some people that are last minute showers, and
Sure.
they've been great interviews. But I think doing the thing of, hey, look, 72 hours, or else we're just going to do something else. And then if it's a happy accident, it's a happy accident.
Yeah.
So, you know, being a little bit more draconian with, hey, look, our time is important. It's a live broadcast. We're going to give it all we've got for 2 hours. And, you know, stay in touch, whatever that is. But in terms of reaching our audience, right? What do guests not do? Apparently, they don't post on social media.
No, we rarely get shared. If I don't think they've shared us. They've rated us well on the podcast, and that's nice.
They want to be rated well.
Getting on Apple Podcasts, somebody taking the time to put a review in and say, hey, you get 5 stars.
Well, that's the thing. It's either 5 stars or nothing, right?
Yeah, but you can tell that nobody cares yet about us because we only have 5-star ratings. As far as I know, the last time I checked, we only have 5-star ratings because like our enemies have not run into it. Except on YouTube, like our content before it even comes out, some of it like that Bill has pissed off in the past has given it the thumbs down before it's actually come out.
It's fine. I love that shit. Yeah, it's how to reach the audience with the topics and the content. I think we could during our podcast. I think the sort of sway bien, like, you know, following the winding road, just it's kind of the same model as Joe Rogan, to be honest with you. And
it's
I know you
absolutely
don't
the same thing. No, I
know you don't.
I don't. I think what we're doing is very similar to Rogan, and I think my issues with him is that he isn't enough of an expert to be a reviewer. He will not push back the way he should as a journalist when somebody says something that is fundamentally wrong that he doesn't know about. How could you know about it? These are questions that, as a journalist, Joe Rogan is a journalist, whether he likes it or not, whether people believe that he's fake or real or whatever.
Like he's AI or something, or
no. I mean, whether he knows about a subject or not. He's still.
I don't think he does.
He's pulling people to talk about them, to interview them. I think there are simple adjustments that he could make to make him more accountable. Absolutely. And I think that he puts people on his podcast and even outrage overlord, like there are outrageous things that he does in order to get views, but also to defend him, there are also he wants to know more about the reason why somebody's picked a perspective. So like what is that?
Curious.
Yeah, genuinely curious.
Genuinely curious. He'll fact check. He will go about and do it. Also, the thing that I like about Joe Rogan, one of the main things that I like about him is he will call out bullshit if he sees it and believes it. Now, sometimes a person may not agree with his perspective, which is fine. You know, I think that he's willing to admit when he's wrong At least he has been. And there are plenty of those episodes that I'm not interested in, especially if it's like multiple people or like his friends. I'm not interested in those episodes. It's just not my bag. But if it's him talking to Elon Musk or Donald Trump, interesting conversations. I'll say this. I like Joe Rogan's podcast. Speaking of his interview with Donald Trump, on the Pro, they did talk about some stuff that I thought was very pertinent. As in, he brought up some stuff that was interesting. We're going to watch it if you want to know what I'm talking about. I don't think Joe Rogan was very difficult on Trump in a way that he really could have been. Because in previous episodes, he's lampooned Trump. I think the assassination attempt really changed his mind on a lot of things, as in Joe Rogan's. But there are elements, and I know I don't want to set off a whole thing because you have a lot more and you're very knowledgeable about this. There are things that I was like, Joe, are you not going to mention some of the elephants in the room here? And he didn't, at least not that I heard. And I was like, I get it. The dude's about to be president.
Well, he wasn't. Trump was smart. I mean, this episode with Joe Rogan, it had 53 million views.
Of course.
It was a real boon for him. And
Kamala didn't jump on and they talk about that.
Kamala had a chance, but the reason she didn't join is because he gave her equal time, which I think is important. Because I think all politicians deserve some equal time. But she didn't do it because it conflicted with her schedule. Clearly, there were a lot of issues that I had with Kamala's campaign. But I also like Kamala's. I like a lot of what she stood for. There's a lot of debate that's going on where supporters or not supporters, where people are saying, well, it's his opinion and her opinion. And that is not true. It is not about opinion. It is about reality. And when you're going into the reality of who is going to suffer or who is going to have opportunity based on this, I think we're stepping into a different world. If people who don't know about a subject have a lot of commentary, and I think that people who are ignorant on something have more power and can more influence a subject than people who are actually evil.
Well, it's one of those things where, like, if you can dumb something down, I mean, that's what marketing's all about, right? It's dumbing something down to an image or a slogan. Like, that's the whole point. So you communicate a whole lot in a cult of personality around Nike or whatever. That's the goal. And Trump's real good at that. He is like his own logo, right?
Well, Trump is the future. The next 4 years, that is Trump. I think he's going to get impeached a couple of times. I think he's a couple more times. I don't know if the Democrats are going to have that ability to get him actually out of office, but I have no doubt that in 2 years there is going to be a fundamental change. I don't think that Republicans will hold both branches of office unless there is some wild fucking thing that happens where they're right. But I don't think they're right.
It'll be a pendulum swing, in my opinion. So my deal is Kamala, for whatever reasons, which they do talk about in this episode. She didn't jump on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I think that was a bad idea because it makes her look like a coward. Whether that's true or not, it's what it looks like, and that's essentially what Trump says.
Well, I mean, she didn't she didn't. It was I think it was a mistake. And
45-minute interview. According to Joe Rogan, she wanted a 45-minute interview at the place, whatever. And Joe was like, "Look, I will go wherever you want to go. We'll move the studio. We can do it. We can do it anytime you want.
Right.
But now, granted, this is what he said. I don't know what happened behind closed doors or emails.
Yeah, that was not what that's not the narrative I was told. Yeah.
Any date, and it's in this episode that he's talking.
Yeah.
Any date, and then he says, "But the stipulation I will make is my podcasts don't have a time limit of 45. Like you do an hour and a half. That's pretty good. We sometimes do 2 or 3, but an hour and a half is pretty much the least." And they were like, "Nope."
Yeah, they did 3 hours.
Pretty much Joe and Trump talk, and they're like, "Look, she can't talk past the rhetoric for 45 minutes, so she canceled. So she's a coward." And that message, whether it's true or not, she didn't show up.
Well, she didn't show up. She didn't have to. And that's, lost. That's her. There are a lot of issues with the Democratic Party that I've noticed. I'm a Democrat. I'm more than just the average Democrat. I'm actually an elected official in some very small way. Yeah. Well,
I think for Trump, so
Yeah. I am a precinct representative. I've also had death threats for my podcast in the past, which is all exciting stuff. My goal for this podcast is no death threats at all. The personal goal. I absolutely understand. I think I know why Kamala lost, and I think this is kind of outside of what our discussion point was.
Piece so we know, and we'll move on. Go on.
But I mean, Biden should have dropped out. I mean, we were all kind of expecting him to not run at all. When he ran, when he went against what he said 4 years ago, like I voted for Kamala. I've been out of politics for a couple of years now, but I voted for her. I think she would have made a fine president, but we weren't given opportunity to make that choice to vote for her. I think the way they did it was necessary because there was a cover-up, there was a lie about Biden's ability to communicate and his ability to be a leader that we were not informed about. I mean, I always felt like, the speech impediment, that is a problem. But when he was unable to articulate and have a reasonable conversation like you and I are having, and I know that I have issues with having reasonable conversations because in this moment, it's always easy to forget the next thing you're going to freaking say. It's hard to communicate.
Yes. Under the gun, especially.
Under the gun, over the gun, just with your friends, just to like, when you're halfway through a sentence and you have this beautiful thing in your head that would have been amazing to say in the moment, and it just goes away in an instant, and you're like, what am I? And I do that all the time. That is something that I do.
But you don't have dementia.
I mean, I hope, I don't know, maybe I do. I don't know.
And I'm not saying Biden has dementia, but
sure. I don't know that he does or doesn't, but the problem with the leader of the free world is they need the ability to communicate in a way. The message, I knew what Biden's message was, but that's because I follow politics. I know what Trump's message is. I was not confused about who I think would be the better candidate or who would be better be able to run. I think we are in a situation of we're at a precipice of failure where Musk even himself said, hey, we might be in trouble in the future. We might be, and I don't disagree with what Musk said, because we've been living in a society that doesn't take, I mean, economics does not take reality into effect. So we're in trouble. I don't think Trump is the person that will bail us out of that, because he is a part of the issue. He's a billionaire. He doesn't know what people need, but it doesn't matter that he knows what people need or not know what people need. He doesn't do a very good job of inspiring people. And that's what we need as a president. It's someone who can speak in such a way that is not exclusive, because there are people from hundreds of different countries, and there are hundreds of different languages spoken in this country that we have to deal with. When you start saying people who are born here aren't allowed to be here, or when you start saying the reason we have food is people who are migrants, they're going to get deported because for whatever reason, you're going to find yourself having inflation because you don't have labor. You're going to find yourself having a lot of issues with just the way the economy works. I am absolutely interested in a different outlook when it comes to the way our country is run. I liked Bernie Sanders for a lot of what he said. I think he was on a podcast recently where he shut down some ignorant person, and I can't remember who it was, but it was like a friend of Joe Rogan. I can't be too. I don't have the best memory on the planet, but it's basically, it's not a choice. Like, if you want a liar to run your country, you're going to fail because they're lying. There's no reality. It's fiction. We're not in a place where we can have any accountability, because there's no ground and everything is just cultish in nature, and it's not going to move us forward in any way. If they're lying about a meteor coming down to being to crash into the planet, and we're all living in bliss because that's going to happen next week, that's one thing. But yeah, it's the difference between someone who is easily proven to be lying about something, who is looking at some kind of fantasy that they found on the dark web, or wherever, that comes through the grapevine, that has no relevance to actually the way things work. Having an expectation of success for that is a fantasy. I'm not saying it can't work. Clearly it worked in Germany for a time.
So, what's next for GGP?
I mean, I've definitely, I got canceled last week because I was raising the middle finger to our.
It's a good question. It's a good question. Now, let me preface. I agree with everything you said.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. You getting canceled. Now, this is something that the only thing I know about it is what you have said and shared.
Sure.
And I noticed you redacted certain parts of those posts.
Redacted. I was blocked out of the group before I could make a screen capture. I was redacted.
Oh, did they redact it themselves?
They didn't. No, when that was their screen capture. The only reason I have a screen capture of that is they sent it to me.
Oh, they redacted.
I didn't have the full amount of information. So
tell the story. Tell the story.
Well, let me see if I can pull it up without sharing. One of the things that I felt like was important when I am promoting an issue about I wanted to make sure that I did not want to
I can hear you, by the way.
advertise them.
I'm gonna move out of the video, but go on.
I didn't want to advertise their the website that they had created, but I'd replied to this poem that was about Donald Trump, and it was kind of like, it wasn't a great or bad poem. I didn't really care so much about the poem ultimately anyway. It wasn't about the poem. It was kind of like, did the children know about Christ in Africa? Will they be saved, kind of thing. It was like, will Trump, and they didn't even mention Trump's name, but they had a photo of him on the thing, and so it was clearly about a poem about him. And it was like, will he know that, you know, there's suffering going on? Does he care? It wasn't like I couldn't even describe the poem. It's just, it gets me a little bit on the inside, and either way, it's like this poet was writing something, and I thought it was pretty, like, it was like written by a person who was an undecided voter. And one of the things that I really struggled with this last election cycle is, like, how are there undecided voters? It doesn't make sense. I don't understand. And is it like, it makes me think, is there apathy? Do they not care? Like, what is the goal? So I asked the question, do we care? I think the poet took it personally because we all had our middle fingers up in the photo. And I said, do we care?
Maybe it's
about
kind of an offensive thing.
It's a little bleak. I admit it's very bleak. I was a little bit
what
like,
you're trying to actually do is the thing. Like, you make a good, I'm going to push back a little bit. You make a good rationalization.
sure.
But if you truly wanted to ask them a question and get a response,
Right.
one, why would you state, do we care? Because that's a shitty, pissy, passive aggressive thing to ask.
Right.
That does not get the rhetorical question. Second, you posted a picture of people flipping off the subject.
No, it's me. It's me flipping off Trump. That's the answer. Do we care? Yes, we do care. The answer is yes, we do care. We have a very clear viewpoint of how we feel about this guy.
Would you agree that's antagonistic?
Absolutely. It is absolutely antagonistic.
So it's not critique. It's not critique.
It is not a critique about the poem itself. But what was written to me as a response is that they're the founder and chief of this group, and they're typically easygoing. But my response was triggering to them, clearly.
They didn't say that, though.
Well, they said you're being removed immediately.
They didn't say that.
I do not tolerate disrespect in any way. Well, there is a clear disrespect towards Donald Trump. I didn't know where his 100%. Alliances or care about the alliances.
So
do what?
So why'd you post it?
Oh, well, I was triggered by the poem.
So what I'm trying to say is, if I post, I went to art school, right? Mm-hmm. Did you go? You didn't go to art school. You went to film school, right?
I absolutely have a degree and minor in art.
You're a degree in art. So you actually did go to art school. I think I went to film school.
I did. I got a degree in both art as well as film.
Well, I have one degree. So.
Yeah.
Regardless, in art school, which I don't know what it's like in film, I don't know what it's like in journalism.
It's constructive
But I do
criticism is what you're looking for.
Yeah, I do know. Well, not always. I do know in art school the thing that again, two things. One, I know how to make a good cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Yep. Boom. Two.
Yeah, because art projects take 40 hours, and it's due in a week.
I know how. What I mean is, the only thing you can do with an art degree is work at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Two, I have borne witness, received, and given very constructive criticism, harsh criticism.
Sure.
And have been emotional about it.
Yeah.
But there is a way of critical.
Oh, absolutely.
Criticizing. And the purpose of it is to either make someone better or to make something better, whatever. A lot of people can't stand that. Most people don't. I don't like to be criticized. No one wants to be criticized. So you have your art piece that you've done,
sure, whether
it's whatever, and someone comes up and they start telling you what you did wrong or what you could do better. I've been in a critique where I posted a painting and the room was against it. I was told.
Me too. I totally. Yeah, absolutely.
I was told I should be ashamed that
sure.
I painted it.
Oh, for sure.
That I posted it, as in this is before the internet. It's not before the internet, but it was before all that bullshit. That I put it up. I'm wasting their time, and that I should be ashamed to even be in the building. That's harsh. One of my sculptures, my teacher, I asked him what he thought after everyone got done. And he said, "Do you have your knife on you, your X-Acto knife?" He chopped off part of it, sawed it off, threw it away, and he said, "Now it's better." So I know what constructive criticism is. And he was right, by the way. Although the person that told me that I shouldn't be in the building was just a bigot. But
yeah,
regardless, there's something there. And I think that you posting, correct me if I'm wrong, you posting this, trolling this person.
Well, you didn't read the poem.
Well, let me finish.
You don't have access to the poem before. I know where you're going, but please finish. Yeah, absolutely.
I think the purpose behind that, correct me if I'm wrong, was to shake the person a little bit, maybe violently, awake.
Yes.
That I can understand.
Critique. It was not a critique on the poem. It was to say that you have written some white bread about some shit, and you opened up a can of and posted this pretty benign poem of like, does Trump know that there are people suffering? It wasn't against the poet at all. It was like, the answer to all of these questions are no, he doesn't care. And the response that the poet actually wrote this don't really care if you care or not. So there, well, I was quoting "Do we care?" based off of a picture that Melania had worn this jacket a number of years ago when they were separating children from their parents who are still not together. Thousands of children don't really care, do you? On her jacket,
sir.
Yeah,
marketing.
And so
your
like,
message, right?
They probably don't understand my context.
No,
and they didn't ask. They didn't want to understand my context.
Why would they? Why would they?
And but to take it to a greater level of, if you're going to talk about art, you have to be real, and you're going to break some people's hearts. You have to be real both ways. And I don't know if this person is conservative or liberal. It doesn't matter, but you have to continue the conversation. You have to at least know context or why, because it doesn't. Like
you've got a third party though, and that third party is the moderator. Now, here's the thing. I'll tell you straight up. I think you got banned, and it was warranted.
Yeah, I'm sure. There are a lot of ways that it's
like if they posted the poem.
Yeah.
And you came at them with a, hey, what you just said. But I think you came out with them. I think you came at with them with a whole typhoon.
Yeah, no, it's a tsunami of issues. I mean, but listen to me just for 1 second. Just for 1 second. This is a you know, they made a political post, whether they like it or not. When you post 100%. Something about Trump, when you post something about Biden, it is a political post immediately. Yeah. And this is where we get into censorship. And this is why I have so many issues with censorship. It's because it is a failure on different sides and understanding what the other side is thinking. And I do try to be censored. I also, if you take it back a level, I don't have the same argument that a lot of people like Musk and Trump were saying about being censored. I accept it because not only am I not an admin of this group, but I don't really care. But them banning me or anybody else it doesn't matter why. They don't have to say why. My issue is with why they said why, not because they made they said I was disrespecting the author, and I disagree with that fundamentally. I don't disagree with why I was banned.
I don't, and I'll tell you why. Okay. Granted, again, I wasn't there. I just know what you're saying. So I'm playing a little devil's advocate here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because I do that to you all the time, like literally every episode. I'm going to say it because whatever. Yeah.
It reminds me of
it's woke,
it reminds me of people that glue their hand to art pieces.
Yeah.
Because they're against the oil industry.
Sure.
Which I agree with them. I think we should get off of oil, and I agree with them. However, trying to utterly destroy the Mona Lisa because you're making a point.
It's a crime against humanity.
I don't want to listen to you anymore.
Yeah, I don't have any issue.
It's like, I want those people, like, let them glue themselves to the art piece and leave them there for about 24 hours and let them shit themselves. Like, don't be an asshole. Now, I understand, we have to do this. We're driven to do this to make change. It's like, right, but no one's listening to you when you do that.
Mm-hmm.
When you do that, no one listens. In fact, what it does is it breeds angst. Oh, we want that because no, you don't want that because now they're not listening. Like, that person is justified.
Right. No,
right?
I disagree.
I disagree with them.
Yeah. No, I disagree with them in context. They took something personally that they shouldn't have taken personally.
It's their poetry.
Yeah. And why is their poetry bad? Just let's go back. You didn't get to read the poem. I wish I had the poem. I really do.
I have no doubt that I have no doubt that it's bad. However, that is subjective.
But it doesn't matter. How does the poem get better?
Then give them that answer.
How does the poem get better? If they're asking all these questions, there is half of this country who voted by like a percentage point, or a few percentage points. Hate this guy. This guy has gone out of his way to create a message of hatred, exclusion, of some would say totalitarian. I would say totalitarian because I have a video clip of him saying, "My authority is total." He has done things. If there isn't a response that is shocking in some way, good or bad, right or left, because listen to me. You look at these shirts. You know, I don't fuck your feelings. Fuck your feelings.
I didn't say that.
No, you didn't say that, but we are subjected to that. That is a T-shirt that MAGA wears.
Oh, that's a T-shirt. Look, you're preaching to the choir.
No, I'm not trying to convince you. I am opening up a dialogue of a conversation. Do I think I was wrong? Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree with what they did. I disagree with how and why they did it.
Okay, so talking about that, I think as a moderator, because I've been a moderator,
right,
and as of you, and there is a fine line a person has to follow.
Right.
Interesting subject, by the way. So have you heard about, this is a little bit of a topic switch, but it is on point.
Sure.
Have you heard about the maelstrom of, what's the word that I'm looking for? Drama about Mr. Beast?
I know of Mr. Beast because Mr. Beast is a very famous internet person on YouTube.
Famous.
Yeah. Okay.
On YouTube. Yeah. So he started his channel. Long and the short of it, he gives money away to people.
Yeah.
And then does zany things like filling houses full of Jello. And most of his audience are kids.
Yeah.
But the dude has become extremely wealthy, and it, like, the kind of content that is, like a Saturday morning cartoon up in your face for like 8-year-olds, Teletubbies, although those are younger, whatever. That's like cartoony people. That's like Mr. Beast.
And you experienced somebody who was mimicking that, I think, with one of the.
Everybody does.
Yeah,
because it works.
But I mean, like you experienced you firsthand something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So the drama with Mr. Beast, it's 2 or 3-fold. If you want to know about it, and I'm talking to the audience now, just type it in. I say go to CoffeeZilla on YouTube. That dude has a whole lot of great stuff. Also, Penguin Zero, great stuff. Internet Anarchist, though, all those guys are great. Anyway, specifically, CoffeeZilla is a journalist, and so I really like his stuff. It is profound the amount of drama that has occurred. Some of it's because of who Mr. Beast has hired, and there's the question of, did he know who he hired? Because these are not particularly good people. In fact, like criminal when it comes to the really, really bad kind of criminals. Also, what sort of sparked the big deal is a meme coin rug pull. And meaning they drove up the prices of a coin. All the people that were buying into it were fans, and then a few number of people sold all their coins and made a ton of money off of their fans. That's called a rug pull. And it seems to happen with all the little crypto meme coins. Hawk to a Girl literally is getting bent over right now because she apparently did this as well. Anyway.
Yeah, I vaguely know about her.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that people are doing. And it's ridiculous.
Yeah. It sounds gross. Like you know, if you spit on somebody, it's like assault. Like that's a law. You know, haktua. You just spit on them. That's assault. Am I like? I'm Generation Xing this.
I don't think it would be called assault. But yeah. So the point being.
Yeah.
Maybe the point being, you have
what is
these.
this all? Isn't it? I mean, just because it's like a cryptocurrency, right? Isn't that what her deal was? And then like.
About Haktua, or are you talking about Mr. Beast?
Yeah, Haktua. No, I don't know anything about Mr. Beast, but the Haktua girl, she
kind of did the same thing.
It's in a form of assault because it's a scam. But yeah, go ahead.
No, the Haktua meme, I mean, I can give credence to it, but it doesn't need credence. She was interviewed and they asked her the question of, like, what's the best sex move? And she said, oh, Haktua on that thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's a porn thing. I mean, if you don't spit on it first, then you're not doing it right, apparently.
Right, you're not doing it. And she got literally famous based off of it. Has a podcast, all of these things. She created, or she and her team created the Hawk coin, and they did a rug pull. Yeah. So almost immediately, people were like, "Dude, that's a rug pull. Don't do it." Of course, people did it. They got screwed. Most of the people that bought the coin weren't crypto people. They didn't understand.
Yeah.
This infamous Twitter space thing goes down where her team are just assholes. They mute CoffeeZilla. They're not answering questions. They're very circuitous with their answers. It all comes down to, so who made all the money? Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, we were screwed over by snipers, people that, came in and screwed up our coin. And CoffeeZilla was like, yeah, well, the snipers made like 1.3 million, but you all made 2.3 million. So who owns the coin? Who owns the business? And the fucking D-bag who's answering, he has a whole rant. It's like such a tech bro-y bullshit rant. Regardless, listen to it. He's like, well, the company did. And CoffeeZilla's like, who's the company? He's like, well, the company. So great, who owns the company? And the guy's like, well, Haley, talk to a girl. So CoffeeZilla's right. She made $2.3 million off her coin getting screwed over by snipers.
Yeah.
That sounds like a rug pull.
Yeah. Well, and anybody who knows anything about shorting something, if you know about the short ahead of time, you can really bank on that stuff.
Well, that's the problem with crypto at present and these situations, specifically what has become of crypto, which is meme coins and such, is Web3 bullshit. Is it's not really regulated.
Right.
It's still in that liminal state.
I feel like we asked our person, we asked that guy, we don't have to go into that, but we asked him a couple of times, how does this work?
I do like that guy. I'd love to have a beer. I'd love to have the beer with that guy, and I invite him to come back on and explain to us.
Come back on and let us know
anything about Mr. Beast or Haktua and the Tua coin.
Be our expert.
I will say, if you come back on, understand you better have some answers or we're going to rip you to shreds.
Yeah,
we're not going to be nice more of the time.
We were really nice to that guy. We were like, oh yeah, yeah, that's great. Let's do this. We'll do some hot yoga. It's good, man.
So the difference between Web 2 and Web 3 is you own it.
I mean, he's clearly got a lot of terms. Maybe we just didn't understand the terminology.
Maybe we didn't. Truth? Maybe I sound like an asshole. Maybe it's a jiffy situation.
Asshole, right here.
I'm willing to admit.
I got what? It's right here.
I'm willing to eat crow. If dude comes on, he's like, listen, guys, this is here it is. Lays it out. Totally cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a feeling that he's just full of shit.
Yeah, no. That was our.
Buy this app, okay? Yeah. Buy this app. Invest in crypto, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Lord, I invested in crypto with that app Coinbase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Coinbase did really well, and then it started off tanking, and now it's kind of building back. But Coinbase is basically what regulates crypto or allows you to buy and sell crypto. Or
no. So it just makes it more accessible. So the proper way to do crypto is you get your own crypto wallet and you learn.
Right.
Coinbase was like, hey, download this app, put in your bank information, and you can buy crypto. The thing is, the caveat, it's like Robinhood and Coinbase, and maybe there's surely many of them.
Yeah. Well, I have a Cash App that gave me Coinbase for free when they dropped.
Right. Supposedly, the crypto that you own on those, and this needs to be checked.
No, this is true. I think this is. I think you're going to be accurate.
Is not. You don't actually own it.
Yeah, it's not yours. It is.
Yeah, it's like they own it.
Yeah, so
you've
they
given
could
them
go.
The money to own it.
It's not a bank. There is no accountability, so they could go bankrupt tomorrow, and all the funds that you have given them, that's gone.
It's gone. Yeah, you don't own anything. From what I understand, that's the case. I also say this about
they don't have the what is it?
Robinhood.
FTC. Yeah.
Robinhood did this thing. I believe it's round up. So you every time you make a purchase with your credit card, for example, let's say it's $2.32, it'll round up to $3 instead. And that money, it deposits into an account, and it can gain
the fractions.
Interest, I believe.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Let's say you quit all of that stuff, and then you cancel you delete your account. You'll still get emails about how your account's doing. And there's just a moment there, the cybersecurity dude in me is like, so I can't delete this. I can't get rid of it. Mm-hmm. I can't unsubscribe. It's always there.
Yeah.
And that, I don't care if it's
have you
not a scam. That is scam central.
Do you have a Facebook account? Are you on Instagram?
Oh yeah, right. What are your friends list? Oh, what are your friends? Could you open up your friends list to us?
Who do you know?
Don't do it. You just sold all of your friends' emails and all their information, all their addresses, any info you have on them. You just sold to a third party who will sell it to people in India.
And
they will call you. And they'll be like, hey, your social security number is revoked. You owe us $500. It's just going to happen.
Speaking of scams, I have to say that we should wrap this up because I'm about 50 minutes over the time that I promised. But I would like to, I think we should end with our comments for the future. I have a real argument with people who use woke wrong because I don't think these people understand that the best shit that we have as humanity is disagreement. And when we can accept the people who are our enemies and have a conversation with these people and disagree with them and still remain friends, that is the best outcome that you can get. When you start to exclude other people, you really fuck yourself. And that's where I'm at.
Agreed. I don't know about trying to reclaim the word woke because it's become demonized. I think awake might be interesting. But sure. It goes both ways. I can be a very intolerant person. Passionate. The root of the word passion is conflict and suffering. Passion is not always a good thing. In fact, a lot of times passion is a bad thing. That's why they call it the passion of the Christ. It's not love of the Christ. It's the suffering because of love of Christ. Passion, to be passionate about math, that means you're getting very emotional. Yeah. A roller coaster about math. To be a passionate debater, you're probably not going to convince anybody.
Right.
Except people that are. So I think us bringing on people that we disagree with, some of the, I'd say a handful of people we have really disagreed with. And I can think of specifically one or two that in my opinion, rate among the top quality interviews. I believe Jake Green, I think was his name.
Yeah.
I think.
That's
and
great.
you and he vehemently disagreed. One of the coolest conversations I have borne witness to. I just kind of relegated myself to moderation. You guys were respectful, and it proves your point that people can talk and learn. That is awesome. I'll say this though. Here's a little thing in the side. People that are on those polls, it's so easy to have that road rage mentality. Someone cuts me off and they're a piece of shit. And then I realize I'm driving 20 miles an hour over the speed limit. They didn't cut me off. You know, like they may have been sitting there for 5 minutes with a bunch of assholes in LA driving by, breaking the rules, and they got to take a shit. Right? I don't know. Giving people a little grace, I think, is what we need.
No, absolutely.
I'm ranting. Guests, I think curating our guests a little more. And then 2, continue what we're doing. That consistency, I think, is really good.
Well, I feel like if I don't go now, I am, or a while ago.
Go away!
But it's been a really interesting conversation, and I certainly appreciate.
As always. Also to our guests,
yeah. And apologies to all the guests that listened that we offended on purpose tonight. Sorry, not
you
sorry.
know, just on and defend yourself, and we will allow
Right.
it.
Yeah, right. You're not banned yet.
You're not banned. You're welcome to come and defend yourself. No problem.
Yeah. Come and
We
say
will
it.
eat crow if we're wrong, or
Yeah.
go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Oh my goodness! All right, this week's episode is the New Year predictions and disillusions.
Taking no names, taking no prisoners.
Yeah, whatever that is. Every week we're here with the sponsorship of Stuff. If I'm gonna go out on a limb, that Stuff sponsored our episode tonight of the Geeky Gamer Podcast.
Those are good guys.
With Ken and Bill. Music by all lowercase letters, Mr. Interrupt. Couchfire Media brings us production, and Twa Replay does all the other fucking shit. So,
stuff and cool stuff.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool stuff. All right.